The unexpected encounter, the air was thick with the scent of foreign spices and unidentifiable gases. The spaceport on the alien planet was bustling with activity as travelers from all over the galaxy moved through customs. The human, who had just landed for an important business deal, was tired after the long flight. His mind was already racing with thoughts of the meeting ahead. Little did he know that what awaited him at customs would change his entire perspective. He stood in line, his eyes scanning the alien crowd. There were towering figures covered in shimmering blue skin, creatures with multiple eyes and humanoid, beings who barely seemed human at all. The high-tech walls were lined with advanced security screens, flashing warnings in languages the human couldn't even begin to understand. As the line moved forward, the human's mind wandered back to simpler days, his high school days. He remembered the laughter of his classmates, the familiar faces he had once known, but that seemed like a lifetime ago. Now, here he was, far from Earth, ready to finalize the biggest deal of his career. His hands fidgeted with the papers in his bag. When it was finally his turn, he stepped up to the desk, looking up at the alien customs officer sitting there. She was a slender figure with silver blue skin, and her eyes, a bright yellow, almost seemed to glow in the dim light of the spaceport. Her uniform was pristine, with the emblem of the Galactic Customs Authority gleaming on her chest. She looked up, and the human froze. There, standing behind the counter, was someone he hadn't seen in over a decade, his high school friend, the one he had lost contact with after graduation. She hadn't aged a day. Her features were the same, but her eyes now held a cold, calculating edge that was unfamiliar. At first, he thought it was just a strange coincidence. But as she stared at him, something in her expression shifted. Her lips curled into a tight, controlled smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was clear she recognized him too. Yet there was something off about it. Her gaze lingered a little. Too long, and he could feel the tension between them. Name? Her voice was smooth, but the human could sense an underlying chill in her tone. It was the voice of someone who had become someone else over the years. Jake. Jake Hamilton, the human stammered, still processing the shock of seeing his old friend in such an unexpected place. The officer's eyes flicked to her screen, and she typed something in. The sound of keys tapping echoed in the otherwise quiet area. It felt like a lifetime had passed in those few seconds. The human tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. He had to ask. He just had to. Are you really? He trailed off, not sure how to finish the question. She looked at him again, this time with a harder expression. I'm an officer of the Galactic Customs Authority, she said flatly, her eyes narrowing as if she was measuring his every word, every movement. Jake nodded, his mind spinning. His old friend, the one who had been kind and carefree back in high school, had now become an enforcer of alien laws. But something felt wrong. The warmth that used to be in her eyes was gone, replaced by a coldness that made him uneasy. It was like looking at a stranger who wore the face of someone he once knew. There was a long pause as she processed his information, her fingers moving swiftly over the console. The human could feel the weight of her gaze on him, and he couldn't help but notice the subtle differences in her demeanor. She wasn't the same person he remembered. The high school friend who used to share laughs and memories was nowhere to be found. His thoughts were interrupted when the officer finally spoke. Again, her voice cold and distant. Welcome to Xanthia, Mr. Hamilton, she said, her tone impersonal. Please proceed through security. He stood frozen for a moment, his mind still reeling from the unexpected reunion. The customs officer didn't even look up from her screen as he grabbed his papers and began to walk away. The familiar feeling of discomfort lingered in the air, like a fog, clouding his thoughts. As he passed through the security checkpoint, his mind couldn't let go of the strange encounter. His old friend, one he had laughed with, the one he had shared memories with, was now an alien customs officer. How had she ended up here, so far from Earth? And why had she become so distant? Something wasn't right. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this reunion than met the eye. Why was she working for the Galactic Customs Authority? What was her true role in this vast alien system? And why did her eyes seem to hide a secret one that she wasn't willing to share? His mind raced with questions as he walked deeper into the spaceport, but one thought stuck with him. He hadn't just run into any alien officer. He had run into someone who was a part of his past, someone who might still have a connection to his future. *A. Friend turned stranger. Jake's mind was a whirlwind as he walked through the bustling corridors of the spaceport, the sound of alien chatter echoing around him. His business deal was still ahead, but all he could think about was the face of the woman behind the counter. The way she had looked at him, the coldness in her eyes, it was unsettling. She wasn't just any alien officer. She was someone he knew, someone who had once been a part of his world. And now she was something completely different. His feet carried him toward the exit, but before he could step outside, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He spun around, his heart leaping into his throat, and there she was, the alien customs officer. She was standing a few feet away, her face expressionless. But there was something in the way she stood that made Jake uneasy. "Mr. Hamilton," she said, her voice smooth yet laced with an undercurrent of something Jake couldn't quite place. "We need to talk." Jake's pulse quickened. He had just encountered her at the customs desk, and now here she was, outside in the open. "What do you want?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Why are you following me?" Her eyes glinted with something unreadable. "You didn't think I wouldn't notice, did you?" she said, stepping closer, her voice lowering. "You're not here just for a business deal. You've come for something else." Jake's eyebrows furrowed. He had come to finalize the deal for his company, but she was implying something more. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice rising. The officer's lips curled into a small, unsettling smile. "You think I don't recognize you, Jake? After all these years? You may not remember, but I've been keeping track of you." Jake's heart skipped a beat. What did she mean by that? Keeping track of him? This was no longer just a casual encounter. There was something deeper at play, something he wasn't being told. His old high school friend was no longer just a friend. She was a part of something far bigger than he could understand. "I don't know what you're talking about," Jake said, taking a step back. "I just came here for business. Nothing more." The officer's gaze darkened, and she crossed her arms, her posture more imposing now. "Business? That's the story you're going with?" She chuckled bitterly. "You're here because you've been chosen. They've been watching you for years, Jake, watching everything you've done, and you've played right into their hands." Jake's confusion only deepened. "Who's been watching me?" His voice trembled slightly, though he tried to keep his composure. "Who are you really?" She leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You were never meant to just be an ordinary man, Jake. You're part of something bigger, something that started long before you even knew what was happening. I know you don't remember, but I do. And now they want you." The weight of her words settled heavily in the pit of his stomach. His mind raced back to high school, the normal life he had once lived, the friends he had made, the simple, carefree days. It all seemed so distant now, so unimportant. What had changed? What had happened to his old friend? How had she gone? From the girl he once knew to this cold, calculating officer? Jake took another step back, his pulse pounding in his ears. "I don't know what you're talking about," he repeated, though his voice now lacked the confidence it had moments ago. The officer's words had shaken him. She stepped forward again, her eyes locking onto his. "I'm telling you the truth. You're not just some businessman. You're connected to something dangerous, Jake. And if you want to survive here, you need to trust me. The moment you set foot on this planet, you are marked. Now you need to choose. Help me, or become part of the problem." Jake's thoughts were a blur. This couldn't be real. She couldn't be serious. But the intensity in her eyes, way she spoke, so sure of herself, made him wonder if he had underestimated how much had changed over the years. "Why should I trust you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Her expression softened, just slightly, as if she were remembering something from the past. "Because I was once your friend," she said quietly, "and you were mine." But the softness didn't last long. The coldness returned to her eyes, and she stepped back, as if putting distance between them both. "You'll find out soon enough. The choice is yours. Just don't say I didn't warn you." With that, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of alien travelers. Jake stood there, his mind in turmoil. He had come to this alien world for a simple business deal, and now his life had been thrown into a whirlwind of mystery, danger, and secrets. The officer's warning echoed in his mind. You've been chosen. But chosen for what? And why her? What had happened to the girl he once knew? As he stood there, feeling more alone than ever, Jake realized that the answers he sought were far more complicated than he could have imagined. His high school friend was gone. In her place was someone else, a person tied to a web of secrets, and he was now tangled in it. Asterisk hidden secrets behind the desk Jake's feet felt heavy as he walked through the winding corridors of the spaceport, his mind racing from everything the officer had said. He had come to this alien world to complete a business deal, but now everything had changed. He couldn't stop thinking about the look in her eyes, the way she spoke with such certainty, as though his entire life had been set on a path he hadn't chosen. His business meeting was still scheduled for later, but he couldn't focus on that now. His thoughts were consumed by the woman who had once been his closest friend, and now was nothing like he remembered. She was an officer in the Galactic Customs Authority, but what had she meant by saying he was chosen? Chosen for what? And why had she left him with more questions than answers? Jake reached the exit of the spaceport, stepping into the open air of the alien world. The streets were alive with movement, filled with creatures from all across the galaxy. He had no idea where to go, but he knew one thing: he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. That's when he saw her again. The customs officer was standing just ahead, waiting by a street vendor, her gaze fixed on him. She hadn't seen him yet, but the cold certainty in her posture made it clear that she was aware of his every move. Without thinking, Jake approached her, trying to act casual, though his heart was racing in his chest. As he got closer, she turned and locked eyes with him. "You're still here," she said flatly. "I thought I made myself clear earlier." Jake didn't know what to say. The question that had been gnawing at him since their last conversation bubbled to the surface. "Why did you follow me?" he asked, his voice tense. "What do you want from me?" The officer's expression remained impassive, but her eyes flickered with something, maybe regret, maybe something darker. "I'm not following you," she replied, her voice colder than before. "I'm trying to keep you alive." Jake's brow furrowed. "Alive? From what?" The officer took a step forward, lowering her voice. "You don't know who you're dealing with, do you?" Jake swallowed hard, his throat dry. "No, I don't." She glanced around, making sure no one was paying attention, and then slid a small rectangular device from her pocket. It was unlike anything Jake had seen before, its surface shimmering with strange symbols. She held it out to him, her eyes locking onto his as she spoke in a whisper. "This is why I followed you. This device contains information. Information that could change everything." She paused for a moment, making sure Jake was paying attention. "There's an alien faction, that's been watching you. Watching us. They've been monitoring your every move. They know things about you, about your past, about your future." Jake took the device from her, his fingers trembling slightly. "What do you mean? How could they possibly know anything about me?" The officer's gaze hardened. "They've been manipulating events for years, Jake, and now you've become a part of their plan. Everything you've done, every choice you've made, has led to this moment. And now it's too late to turn back." Jake shook his head, trying to understand. "What do you want me to do with this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What am I supposed to do with all of this information?" The officer's eyes softened for just a moment, but only for a moment. "You have a choice. You can take this device and walk away, try to live your life as though nothing has changed, or you can use it. But understand this, if you choose to use it, there's no going back. You'll be stepping into something far bigger than you can imagine." Jake felt the weight of the device in his hand, its alien surface smooth and cold against his skin. His mind was spinning. The officer had given him a choice, but it felt like there was no real choice at all. Everything she had said, the hidden faction, the manipulation, the monitoring felt like a bad dream, but the device in his hand was real. And what was worse, it seemed to carry a weight he could no longer ignore. "I don't understand," he said, his voice a little shaky. "Why me? Why was I chosen for this?" The officer's gaze softened just a fraction. "Because, Jake, you have something they want. You always have." Before Jake could ask more, the officer stepped back, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "They're watching. You need to go now. Take the device and keep it safe. If you want answers, you'll find them. But be careful. Trust no one." She turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Jake standing there with more questions. Then answers. He could feel the weight of the device in his hand like a ticking time bomb. The officer's words echoed in his mind. You have something they want. But what? And why had she been the one to bring him this information? What was her role in all of this? Was she truly trying to help him? Or was she just another pawn in a much larger game? Jake didn't know the answers, but one thing was certain. His life was never going to be the same again. He had been thrust into a web of intrigue, secrets, and danger. And now there was no turning back. Asterisk the unveiling truth. Jake's hand clenched. Around the device, its alien surface feeling colder with every passing second. He wasn't sure what to make of the officer's cryptic words, but one thing was clear. His world had been turned upside down. His heart raced as he walked away from the spaceport, the bustling alien marketplace, now a blur around him. His mind raced with questions that he could barely even articulate. Why had he been chosen? What was this device, and why was it so important? And most unsettling of all, why had his old friend, the one who had been so familiar, now become part of something so vast and dangerous? His first instinct was to throw the device away, to walk away from all of this. But something held him back, an unseen thread that seemed to tie him to this mystery. He couldn't just ignore it. Not when everything felt so connected. There was no turning back now. He found a quiet alley tucked away from the noise of the marketplace and sat down on a bench. His fingers hovered over the device, the strange symbols flickering on its surface. He knew he couldn't figure it all out alone, but the officer's warning lingered in his mind. Trust no one. He needed answers, but who could he trust? Certainly not the officer. She was playing a dangerous game, and he didn't even know if she was on his side. Yet a part of him still clung to the hope that there was more to her than what he had seen. She had been his friend once, hadn't she? A faint hum interrupted his thoughts. His gaze flicked to the device in his hand. The symbols had begun to glow softly, a pulse of light flowing in a rhythm that was almost hypnotic. He held his breath as he pressed a small button on the side. Unsure of what might happen next. The device sprang to life with a low, electronic whir. The symbols on its surface shifted, and a holographic projection appeared in front of Jake. He leaned in closer, his breath catching in his throat. The image was blurry at first, but it slowly sharpened, revealing an alien landscape, a desolate, barren planet with swirling storms and jagged mountains. And in the distance, a massive structure, towering and ominous, loomed on the horizon. As the projection zoomed in, Jake's heart skipped a beat. There, in the center of the structure, was a symbol that looked disturbingly familiar. It was the same emblem that the officer had worn on her uniform. It was the emblem of the Galactic Customs Authority. His pulse quickened. The hologram flickered, and a voice began to speak. The voice was robotic, but the words were clear, each one striking Jake's mind like a hammer. This is the Nexus facility, the final stage of the Galactic Authority's project, the voice said, its tone cold and impersonal. The project, that has been watching Earth, and it's all connected to you. Jake felt his blood run cold. The Nexus facility? What project? And how was it connected to him? The hologram shifted again, this time showing a series of events, flashes of human history, political movements, and technological advancements. But everything was tainted with a shadow, a sense that someone or something was guiding it all from behind the scenes. It was as if his entire life had been manipulated, every decision, every move, influenced by forces he couldn't see. And then the hologram showed a figure, a human figure. But it wasn't just any human, it was Jake, or someone who looked like him. The figure stood in front of the Nexus facility, looking out at the chaos that surrounded it. The image was grainy, but it was unmistakable. He knew it was him. The voice continued, now sounding more urgent. The time has come. You have been selected to play your part. You, Jake Hamilton, are the key to the next phase of the project. The fate of your planet and your future lies in your hands. The hologram flickered and then cut to black. Jake sat there, stunned, unable to process what he had just witnessed. The words of the officer came rushing back. You have something they want, but what was it? What was this project? And why was he the one chosen to be a part of it? The weight of the device in his hand felt heavier now, as if it was pressing down on his chest. His mind spun in circles, trying to make sense of everything, but there were too many unanswered questions. He couldn't just walk away. Not now. Not when everything he had known, everything he had believed, was being shattered before his eyes. But if he couldn't trust the officer, who could he trust? And what was his next move? Before he could gather his thoughts, he felt the familiar weight of eyes on him. He looked up to find a shadow standing in the alleyway just ahead. It was a figure cloaked in dark robes, standing still, watching him intently. Jake's heart raced again, his fingers instinctively tightening around the device. He didn't know who this person was, but something about them made his skin crawl. The figure stepped forward, their face hidden beneath the hood, but Jake could feel their presence. They were powerful, dangerous even. You have it, don't you? The voice of the cloaked figure asked, low and gravelly. The key to everything. You shouldn't have it, but you do. Jake stood up, his body tense, every instinct screaming at him to run. Who are you? He demanded, though his voice trembled slightly. The figure smiled, but it wasn't a comforting smile. It was the smile of someone who knew far more than they were letting on. I'm the one who will help you understand the truth. Or the one who will end you if you don't listen. A dangerous alliance. Jake's pulse quickened, and his heart pounded in his ears as the figure's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. The cloaked figure's smile never wavered. Their voice soft but laced with a dangerous edge that sent a chill down his spine. Every instinct told Jake to run, but his feet were frozen to the spot. He couldn't move, couldn't think clearly. Something about the figure, something about their presence, made him feel as if he were caught in a trap. "You don't know who I am, do you?" The cloaked figure asked, their voice almost mocking. "But you will. Soon enough, you'll understand why I've been waiting for you." Jake took a cautious step back, but the figure matched his movement, closing the distance between them. The alley seemed to narrow with each step, the distant sounds of the bustling marketplace fading into an eerie silence. "What do you want from me?" Jake asked, his voice shaky, but he refused to back down. He gripped the device tighter in his hand, trying to steady himself. "Why are you following me? What do you know about this?" The cloaked figure chuckled darkly, a sound that made Jake's blood run cold. "I know everything, Jake Hamilton. I know about your past, your future, and I know that you've been marked by them." "Who are they?" Jake's voice trembled slightly as he finally demanded the truth. The figure tilted their head as if savoring Jake's confusion. "The ones who have been watching you from the shadows. The ones who set the events in motion long before you even realized. They've been guiding you, pulling the strings of your life, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves." Jake's breath caught in his throat. Who are they?" He repeated, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily on him. The figure stepped closer, their face still hidden beneath the cloak's hood, but their presence was overpowering. "They are the architects, the ones who created the Nexus facility. They've been manipulating the galaxy for millennia, shaping events and civilizations to suit their needs. And you, Jake, are the key to their grand design." Jake's head spun as the figure's words echoed in his mind. The architects. He had never heard of them before, but the more the figure spoke, the more he felt like he was being drawn into a vast conspiracy that was far beyond anything he could comprehend. "What do you want me to do?" Jake asked, his voice barely more. Then a whisper. The cloaked figure's smile deepened, and they extended a hand, palm open. "I don't need you to do anything. The choice has already been made for you. All I want is for you to accept your role. You can fight it all you want, but in the end, you will realize that you have no other option." Jake recoiled, his mind racing. "What role? What do you mean?" The figure stepped forward, their eyes glowing faintly from beneath the hood, as if they were no longer human at all. "You were never meant to be a simple businessman. You were meant to be part of something much larger. The Nexus facility, the device you hold, it's all part of the same puzzle. You were always destined to play a role in the architect's plan. It's why they've watched you, manipulated you, and shaped your future." Jake's heart raced as the figure's words began to sink in. He had always thought his life was his own, that his choices were his own. But now it felt like his entire existence had been orchestrated by someone else. The business deal he had come to complete, the life he had built, it all seemed meaningless now. "Why me?" Jake asked, barely able to get the words out. "Why me of all people?" The figure's smile faded slightly, and they looked at Jake as though they were about to reveal something monumental. "You are one of the last humans who can truly see the bigger picture. You're connected to the Nexus facility in ways you don't even understand yet. Your role is tied to the device you carry, the key that can unlock the final phase of the architect's project. If you're willing to accept that, then together we can change the course of history." Jake's stomach twisted into knots. Everything was spinning out of control. This cloaked figure, these architects, the device, it all felt like too much. His mind was overwhelmed, and yet there was something in the figure's words that made him want to believe. He wanted to understand, to know the truth behind the questions that had haunted him since his encounter with the officer. "You want Me to join you? Jake asked, the idea repulsing him, but also strangely enticing. The figure nodded. Not just join me, join us. Together, we can unlock the potential that lies within you. But you must decide, Jake. There's no turning back once you make that choice. Jake's heart pounded as he weighed the decision. This wasn't just about his future anymore. It was about the future of humanity, of the galaxy. The choice he made now would determine everything. Should he trust this mysterious figure, or was this another trap, another manipulation designed to lead him deeper into something he didn't fully understand? Why should I trust you? Jake asked, his voice filled with suspicion and fear. Figure's gaze softened, just slightly. Because I'm not your enemy, Jake. I've been sent to guide you, to help you see what you've been blind to all these years. The architects aren't your friends, but they're not your enemies either. They've seen the potential in you. All I'm asking is that you see it too. Jake looked down at the device in his hand, the weight of his decision pressing down. On him, the device hummed with energy, almost as if it were alive, waiting for him to make the choice. His old life felt like a distant memory, slipping away with every second. This was bigger than him, bigger than anything he could have ever imagined. With a deep breath, Jake finally looked up at the cloaked figure. All right, he said, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. I listen, but I'm not making any promises. The figure nodded approvingly, a gleam of satisfaction in their eyes. That's all I ask. The final choice Jake's steps echoed in the empty corridor, the silence pressing in around him like a thick blanket. He couldn't quite remember how he had arrived here, standing before the massive door of the Nexus facility, the towering structure. That had loomed in the hologram. It seemed like a lifetime had passed since he first encountered the officer, and even longer since he had been an ordinary man. Now, every step felt heavy with the weight of his choices. He had walked into a world he didn't understand, a world where his every move seemed to be watched by unseen eyes, manipulated by hidden hands. The figure, the cloaked one, had given him no illusion of control. They had offered him a glimpse into the truth, but with it came a price. He wasn't just walking into the unknown. He was walking straight into the heart of a plan that had been set into motion long before his birth. Behind him, the officer's words rang in his mind. You're the key to everything. The architects know it, and they're watching. They've been manipulating your life, guiding you to this moment. And here he was standing in front of the Nexus facility, the very center of their power. It wasn't just an alien base. It was something much bigger. It was where his past, present, and future collided. The doors to the facility opened with a low, mechanical hum, revealing a sterile, dimly lit interior. The air smelled faintly of ozone, a cold, electric scent that reminded him of a lab more than a place of power. He stepped forward, the metal floor beneath him vibrating slightly with each movement. His heart pounded harder as the door slid shut behind him, sealing him in. He wasn't alone. The figure, the cloaked one, had led him here, standing just behind him. Their presence felt suffocating, the air thick with the weight of expectations. But for the first time since this all started, Jake felt like he was on the verge of something monumental, something that could either change everything or destroy it all. You've come this far, the figure's voice rang out from behind him. But now, you must decide. The Nexus facility is yours to control if you have the courage to wield its power. Jake turned, his eyes narrowing as he took in the figure's words. What do you mean? What power? And why are you helping me? The figure stepped closer, their voice lower now, almost soothing. I'm not helping you, Jake. I'm offering you the truth. The power of the Nexus is not just in the hands of the architects. It's in yours, too. You've always had it. You've always been meant for this. Jake felt a flicker of doubt rise within him. Why me? What do I have that makes me special? I'm just a man. The figure's eyes glowed faintly as they took a step forward, their presence almost overwhelming. You are not just a man. You were created to be something more. The architects designed you, Jake. Your entire life has been a preparation for this. They've used you, yes, but they also made sure you had the ability to break free, to take control. Jake's mind reeled. Everything he thought he knew about himself, the life he had built, the choices he had made, was suddenly in question. How could he possibly be part of something so vast, so far beyond his comprehension? The figure continued, their voice almost hypnotic. The Nexus is a weapon, a tool to control the galaxy. But it is also a choice, Jake. You can use its power to shape the future, to rewrite the destiny of entire worlds. Or you can destroy it, let it fall into oblivion. The choice is yours. Jake's chest tightened as he stared at the facility, the glowing core at its heart calling to him, a pulsing beacon of power. He felt its pull, its gravity, as if it were beckoning him to make a decision. But how could he make a choice when he didn't fully understand the stakes? How could he decide the fate of the galaxy when his own past had been a lie? I don't understand, Jake said, his voice cracking slightly. Why should I trust you? Why should I trust the Nexus? The figure stepped even closer, their face now fully visible beneath the cloak, though it remained shadowed in darkness. Because you've always had the ability to decide. You are the key, Jake. No matter what the architects want, no matter what they've planned for you, your choices will shape the future. Not theirs, yours. Jake's gaze fell on the glowing core again. His hand tightened around the device, the one the officer had given him. It hummed in his grip, as if it were alive, waiting for him to activate it. It held the secrets of everything, the answers to the questions that had plagued him for so long. But could he trust it? Could he trust himself? A moment passed, and in that time, Jake's mind raced through the possibilities. The Nexus could give him the power to control everything. He could be the one to shape the galaxy, to decide the fate of countless worlds. But with that power came the possibility of corruption, the risk of becoming just another pawn in a game he didn't understand. He thought back to the officer, to the strange reunion. She had warned him. She had told him that he could change everything. But had she meant it in the same way the figure did? Was she on his side, or was she just another part of the architect's plan? Jake's eyes flicked back to the figure, his decision finally forming in his mind. If I use the power of the Nexus, I'm not just changing my future, am I? I'm changing everything. The figure nodded slowly, their eyes gleaming with approval. Exactly. You are the pivot point, Jake. The Nexus will only work if you choose to wield it. If you choose to wield its power, everything will shift. But beware, the architects will never let you go without a fight. Jake felt a cold wave of resolve wash over him. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was clear, he couldn't back down now. He had come too far, uncovered too many secrets to turn back. With a deep breath, Jake made his decision. He stepped forward, towards the heart of the Nexus. Facility, the device glowing brighter in his hand. The future was his to shape, for better or for worse. Asterisk.